15 people were killed, 7 children. You were spokesperson for the Israeli government at the time. Israel has never given an explanation. When you say, I do not need to explain myself, you literally do. You were the spokesperson for the government that committed a war crime, and you came to a debate tonight to defend war crimes. So you literally do. Number two, you'll notice, John, how Eylon quickly went to abstract generalities. Let's talk specifics. Let's talk about tunnels. I think it's abhorrent to hide tunnels under civilian targets. I wish they didn't do that. But when Israel shoots children in the head, 3 American doctors went to Gaza. Dr. Feyyaz Sidwa, Dr. Irfan Galaria, and a Jewish American doctor called Dr. Mark Perlmutter. All of them came back at separate times, said children were brought into hospitals we were in with gunshot to the head, sniper shots. Perfect. Exact targets. There is no tunnel that justifies shooting toddlers in the head, Israeli snipers. Shooting toddlers. Or you can tell us why. You can defend them.
Eylon may attempt to defend it, but there's no defending for shooting toddlers in the head. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Z, and today we continue on with part 2 of Mehdi Hasan against Eylon Levy on what I like to think the debate of the century. It's not just a debate, it's a battle of principles versus propaganda. We're going to expose the disturbing truth Eylon tries to justify with empty abstractions and deflections. Who's a former Israeli government spokesperson? Without further ado, let's jump into it.
Mehdi, Mehdi, forgive me for going abstract, but I do want to go to some principles here. So you are listing a number of specific incidents that you feel cumulatively add up to a very, very much an overreaction.
War crimes, John, not an overreaction, war crimes.
All right, you call them war crimes. Not so much in the abstract, but what would have been an appropriate response to what happened that would not cross the line to proportionality?
It's a good question. It's a great question. So I'll answer that in 2 ways. One is, I'm not someone who has ever, and you can look at my record on this, whether it's the UK, the US, both of my countries, I'm American, British. I've criticized targeted assassinations, even by the US and the UK. I'm the loser, and people in New York, there's going to be an unpopular statement, who says that people like bin Laden should be tried, not assassinated. That's who I'm, a stinking liberal. But given we live in a world where America, Britain, Israel, multiple countries, India is now accused of targeting its enemies, killing its enemies, you could have tried to take out the leaders of the group without wiping out the entire place. I find it interesting that Israel, hold on. I find it interesting that Israel was able to pinpoint kill Ismail Haniyeh in a house in a foreign country. But when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to the Gaza Strip, they had to wipe out the whole place. They had to reduce it to 42 million tons of rubble. And one final point, I just got on factual points. Eylon, they're not your neighbors, they're people you occupy, just to be clear.
So, I'm hoping you'll let point number 2 slide, and please take on point number 1. But Mehdi's saying that there would have been a self-defense response that he feels might have been more appropriate, that he also feels would have been within the capability of the Israeli military. What's your response to that?
Notice the general pattern of argumentation we're seeing here. Gosh, October 7th was terrible. Hamas shouldn't have done that. Gosh, Hamas built tunnels under schools and hospitals. It shouldn't have done that. The question is what Israel may legitimately do once
No, that's not the question I asked you.
No, but I'm explaining.
It's what you did.
And his response.
It's what you did.
And Mr. Hassan's response is, well, if Israel could take out a terrorist leader thousands of miles away who wasn't expecting that he could be targeted, surely it can reach the terrorists who are hiding inside a bunker, under a hospital, probably surrounded by hostages as human shields. Hamas rigged the battlefield. Hamas rigged the battlefield to shield its military assets under civilians, and it left Israel with no option of getting to those leaders.
Okay, no option, no other option. No option is what your opponent is saying.
So first of all, as we've discussed, and I'm here all night, Eylon can take his time, they killed 15 members of the Doss family, 7 children.
We can continue this at the reception afterwards if you want.
And I'll happily ask you, why did the government that you served in kill 15 innocent people in an apartment building? Hold on, this is very important because there's no evidence Hamas was there. He's not even tried to make that claim.
Mehdi, just in the interest of time, you've asked it. It's become a rhetorical question.
It's crucial to the argument.
He's saying there was no
tunnels.
When he says there was no other option, what is your response to that?
Well, no one in the world agrees with that. That's why Israel's become a pariah in the world, because even
What was the option, Mr. Hassan? What would you have had us do?
Even Joe Biden, the most
What does October 7th justify?
I already answered that question. Even Joe Biden, the most pro-Israel president of my lifetime, who has backed Israel with weapons and arms, has gone on the record saying too much indiscriminate bombing. You've killed too many innocent people. Even the people on your own side say you're killing too many people, Eylon. But you will not accept that.
Mr. Hassan, too many people have been killed. The number of people who should have been killed is 0. Too many people were killed when Hamas's psychopath leaders, who are funded by your paymasters in Qatar, maybe you share a slack.
All right. Let's please pull it with that.
I'm going to respond to that.
No. It's another cheap shot, and I don't want to entertain cheap shots. I want to go to you, Eylon, with this question. When you say that the war is justified, killing in war can only be justified if it serves a greater good. What's the greater good that's being served at this moment?
Mr. Donovan, this war is not justified because Hamas should not have started this war in the first place.
Well, the question is whether you are arguing, you are answering the question, yes, Israel's actions are justified.
The response is an attempt to prevent the next October 7th massacre. Well, on October 7th, Hamas showed us what it was capable of doing, and they immediately went on TV and said October 7th, October 10th, October 1 millionth. Everything we do is justified. We're a nation of martyrs, they said. We're proud to sacrifice millions of martyrs if that's what it takes. And we are trying to stop October 7th and to do so in a way that minimizes the cost to their civilians.
Let me just deal with the last point and the previous point, which is the idea. Let's just be real here. And a lot of military experts say this, but you don't even need military experts. You just need common sense. The idea that you prevent another October the 7th or that you destroy Hamas by making tens of thousands of Palestinian children orphans is insane. It doesn't protect Israel. Forget Gaza. It doesn't protect Israel. And let me just deal with this classic. My paymasters in Qatar. Yes, I host a show for Al Jazeera English. Let's just be very clear. In December, the New York Times published a very, very long piece.
Come on. Nobody
very
cares.
important
Nobody
here. Very important
cares.
here. It's relevant to the debate. The New York Times.
All right, make it
a very long
relevant.
piece.
Please make it relevant.
New York Times published a very long piece which said a month before October the 7th, the head of the Mossad, David Barnier, went to Doha, Qatar, and the Qataris said, "Do you want us to keep sending money to Gaza?" And he went back to Netanyahu. He said, "What should I say?" And Netanyahu said, "Yes, please." And he went back. He said, "Yes, please send the money to Gaza." Eylon went to work for the government of Benjamin Netanyahu a month afterwards. He's never apologized for that to the Israeli people. Benjamin Netanyahu's never apologized to that to the Israeli people. So if anyone should answer questions about Qatari funding of Hamas, allegedly, reportedly, whatever you want to call it, it's the Israeli government that facilitated it for many, many years. Eylon was in that government. He's the spokesperson for that government.
It was a terrible mistake to allow Qatari money into Gaza on the mistaken belief that if we improve civilian life in Gaza, create jobs, create opportunity, Hamas's psychopath leaders won't launch this war. They went straight on TV and said, "We tricked the Israelis. We made them think that we were concerned about the civilians in Gaza, all the while we were taking that money to build the tunnels and the weapons and the rockets we are firing at Israel." If we had known, Mr. Hassan, what Hamas was going to do on October 7th, perhaps we should have started a preemptive war to eliminate that threat before they could have burned the cement of children alive on October 7th. But we didn't.
Okay.
Hamas tricked us, and we won't repeat the same mistake again.
Time out. Going to take a little bit of a 10-second breath and slightly lower the temperature, but only slightly. Eylon, you were making the argument that Israel's actions are justified in the pursuit of the destruction of Hamas. We've come to the point, though, where even Israeli military officials are saying it can't be destroyed. Therefore, what happens to that argument that the justification is the destruction of Hamas if it's an organization, a movement that can't be destroyed?
Of course Hamas can be removed from power, just like ISIS was removed from power. ISIS is now a terrorist organization. that is trying to blow up concerts in Austria, it no longer controls territory the size of Austria. Following this war, we cannot allow the Hamas terrorist regime, it's not an organization, it's a terror regime and a terror army, to regroup, restock, rearm, and keep shooting rockets at our towns while it is still holding civilians. It is a regime that must be removed from power because we know exactly what it wants to do if given half a chance, and that is to do October 7th again and again. And Israel's war, Mr. Hassan, I'll yield the stage to you and ask you, eliminating the Hamas terror regime, removing it from power, a legitimate military objective, yes or no?
Of course, it's a legitimate military objective for Israel. And that's what I quoted the ICC chief prosecutor saying, but you're doing a very bad job of it. What's interesting?
Do I understand that after October 7th?
What John
do
said,
I understand? No, because I want to clarify and understand we're on the same page.
You want to clarify, the guy who can't answer why you killed 15 civilians.
No, I want to understand that we are on the same page. Do you agree that
I'll answer your questions
October
when you
7th,
answer mine.
It was legitimate for Israel to remove the Hamas terror regime in order to prevent another October 7th? It's a yes or no question, Mr. Hassan.
No, it's not. It's a loaded question. I'm going to say it was legitimate for Israel to defend its citizens inside of Israel. It's not legitimate to occupy Palestinian territory for decades on end. And let me answer. Can I actually answer what you came to me for?
If I can rebut,
let me answer John's question. Let me answer
Elyon, you've had about 2 or 3 minutes in a row. Go ahead,
You asked a very interesting question of Eylon. You pointed out that he keeps saying, notice the sleight of hand. You said that he said, and he said it many times, not just here, Hamas should be destroyed. When you asked him, Israeli military experts in general say it can't be destroyed. Notice what Eylon said? He said, remove from power. Quickly move the goalpost there. Because he knows that Hamas can't be destroyed by these means. In fact, the former head of Israel's military,
said from
let me
the
finish
very
my point.
beginning.
The former head of Israel's military, who was a member of Netanyahu's war cabinet, he said earlier this year, quote, anyone who says you can destroy Hamas is telling tall tales. So it's not me calling Eylon Levy a liar. It's the former head of the Israeli military.
Mr. Hassan, from the beginning, Israel has said that its goals are to remove Hamas from power and dismantle its ability to wage war again, and to live up its threat of repeat October 7th. And that is why I ask you, after October 7th, was it legitimate for Israel to remove Hamas from power in order to eliminate the threat of repeat October 7th? Yes or no?
Very simple answer. Israel has the right to defend its citizens in its territory. It doesn't have a right to be an occupier. It doesn't have a right to... Let me finish the point, because you think they're your neighbors. The International Court of Justice says Gaza and the West Bank are occupied. They've been occupied every day since 1967. You did not withdraw in 2005. You blockaded,
I'd like to explain. I'd like to explain what the purpose here is of the legal fiction.
And I've already answered the question, Eylon. I've made the point that even if I was an Israeli general trying to destroy Hamas, killing thousands of innocent people only helps Hamas. Every terrorism expert in the world says you're a recruiting sergeant for extremist groups when you go and kill innocent civilians.
Mr. Hassan, whether
Why can
this
you not
war...
understand that?
Whether this war...
Time out.
As we draw to a conclusion, Eylon insists Israel's actions are about stopping another October 7th. Let's call this what it is, a free pass for disproportionate violence. You want to prevent a tragedy by creating one 10 times bigger? That's not defense. That's a demolition plan for an entire population. And don't you love how Eylon plays the no other option card? As if targeted assassination suddenly requires flattening whole neighborhoods? Mehdi claps back. If you can drone strike leaders overseas with surgical precision, why does Gaza get the sledgehammer treatment? It's almost like Israel prefers rubble and makes it easier to redraw the map. And did you catch the classic bait and switch? When Mehdi cites military experts saying Hamas can't be destroyed, Eylon moves the goalpost faster than a footballer with something to hide. Destroy Hamas? No. Remove from power. Nice pivot. That's not just a logic, it's a gymnastic routine. And let's talk about this whole minimizing civilian casualty claim. Israel says it's protecting civilians while turning Gaza into rubble museum, complete with orphan exhibits. Even Joe Biden, the most pro-Israel president in recent history, had to say, guys, maybe don't bomb everything in sight. When Joe Biden asks you to dial it back, you know you've gone overboard. At the end of the day, Mehdi's point hits home. You can't destroy a movement by killing the people it claims to represent. Every bomb dropped is another recruitment poster for extremists. It's not just immoral, it's counterproductive. So Eylon, you can talk about principles and proportionality all you want, but action speaks louder than your rehearsed justification. And Mehdi, well, he just served a cold, hard dose of reality and didn't even charge you for shipping. That's it for today's Zees Political Arrow family. If you like this teardown of hypocrisy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Let's keep exposing double standards, one debate at a time. See you all on the next one.